as a better portrait of Theobald than any sculptor or painter short of a great master would be able to produce. I remember staying with Theobald some 6 or 7 months after he was married, and while the old church was still standing. I went to church, and felt as Naaman must have felt on certain occasions when he had to accompany his master on returning after having been cured of his leprosy. I have carried away a more vivid recollection of this and of the people than of Theobald's sermon. Even now I can see the men in blue smock frocks reaching to their heels, and more than one old woman in a scarlet cloak. The row of stolid, dull, vacant ploughboys, ungainly in build, uncomely in face, lifeless, apathetic, a race a good deal more like the pre-revolution French peasant as described by Carlyle than as pleasant to reflect upon, a race now supplanted by a smarter, comelier, and more hopeful generation, which has discovered that it too has a right to as much happiness as it can get, and with clearer ideas about the best means of getting it. They shamble in one after another, with steaming breath, for it is winter, and loud clattering of hobnailed boots. They beat the snow off them as they enter, and through the open door I catch a momentary glimpse of a dreary leaden sky and snow-clad tombstones. Somehow or other I find the strain which Handel has wedded to the words, "There the ploughman near at hand," has got into my head, and there is no getting it out again. How marvellously old Handel understood these people! They bob to Theobald as they pass the reading desk. The people hereabouts are truly respectful, whispered Christina to me. They know their betters, and take their seats in a long row against the wall. The choir clamber up into the gallery with their instruments, a violoncello, a clarinet, and a trombone. I see them, and soon I hear them, for there is a hymn before the service, a wild strain, a remnant, if I mistake not, of some pre-Reformation litany. I have heard what I believe was its remote musical progenitor in the church of Santi Giovanni e Paolo at Venice, not 5 years since, and again I have heard it far away in mid-Atlantic upon a grey sea Sabbath in June, when neither winds nor waves are stirring, so that the emigrants gather on deck, and their plaintive psalm goes forth upon the silver haze of the sky, and on the wilderness of a sea that has sighed till it can sigh no longer. Or it may be heard at some Methodist camp meeting upon a Welsh hillside, but in churches it is gone forever. If I were a musician, I would take it as the subject for the adagio in a Wesleyan symphony. Gone now are the clarinet, the violoncello, and the trombone. Wild minstrelsy, as the doleful creatures in Ezekiel, discordant but infinitely pathetic. Gone is that scare-bathed Stentor, that bellowing bull of Bashan, the village blacksmith. Gone is the melodious carpenter, gone the brawny shepherd with the red hair, who roared more lustily than all, until they came to the words, "Shepherds with your flocks abiding," when modesty covered him with confusion and compelled him to be silent, as though his own health were being drunk. They were doomed, and had a presentiment of evil, even when first I saw them, but they had still a little lease of choir life remaining, and they roared out, "Wicked hands have pierced and nailed him to a tree." But no description can give a proper idea of the effect. When I was last in Battersby Church, there was a harmonium played by a sweet-looking girl with a choir of school-children around her, and they chanted the canticles to the most correct of chants, and they sang hymns ancient and modern. The high pews were gone, nay, the very gallery in which the old choir had sung was removed as an accursed thing which might remind the people of the high places, and Theobald was old, and Christina was lying under the yew trees in the churchyard. But in the evening later on, I saw 3 very old men come chuckling out of a dissenting chapel, and surely enough They were my old friends the blacksmith, the carpenter, and the shepherd. There was a look of content upon their faces which made me feel certain they had been singing, not doubtless with the old glory of the violoncello, the clarinet, and the trombone, but still songs of Zion, and no new-fangled papistry. End of chapter 14. Recording by Rhonda Fetterman.